I'd like to introduce you to the new police chief of Charleston, South Carolina. It seems only one side of the story has been shown here. I'd like to give you some other information from back home here in Montgomery County, Maryland. And I was working on my YouTube channel about Police Chief Tom Manger of Montgomery County, Maryland, and I see that one of his henchmen seems to have become the police chief of Charleston, South Carolina. So let me kind of explain some things what are going on here. And if you look at my channel, and if you look at the about section, and if you look at like the first 5 videos, a lot of things are explained out in writing. But I like to just focus first on some things unrelated to me, and then we'll get to my case. So around the Washington D.C. area, what happens is the police chief and the news media and everyone together kind of acts like one big group of friends. So there's really no checks and balances. So that's kind of why these people get a really good reputation, because everyone else gives, who's supposed to be honestly judging their work, they instead give them a good reputation, which is fake. And I like to show you what's going on here. And the first thing I like to point out is how they leverage situations. So the city of Charleston used a search committee. Actually, they used a private entity that helps do this kind of research to find a new police chief. So what they do is they give you a list of candidates. But if you notice the conflict of interest, the very same outfit that put together this list that put in Chief Reynolds, Luther Reynolds, he belongs to that very same group. And so does Montgomery County Police Chief Tom Manger. So what it looks like is they deliberately set up a field of bad candidates, and then they stuck Luther Reynolds in there so he can easily get hired. And so, we can see, so you should ask the mayor's office in Charleston or the city council why the new police chief essentially selected himself. He works for that group. He's part of, I think it's called like the Law Enforcement or Police Executive Forum. Okay, that's the agency they used, and he works for them. So here's Luther Reynolds on the Montgomery County Police website. Let's see what they say about him. And what they say about him is, now watch this, when they ask him to comment about leaving his old job and his new job, he's already insulting you guys in Charleston. Because now here's what he says about, he doesn't have anything nice to say about Charleston. Now what he says, here we go. Montgomery County has been very good to me and my family. We love the diversity, the proximity to DC, the collaborative nature of government, and the strong support of policing and public safety. This is a highly, watch this, I guess here it is. This is a highly educated community filled with lots of very good people and leaders, said Reynolds. So you can kind of see that's what your Chief Reynolds likes. He likes all the, I guess the highly educated people, and I guess, so he's kind of already insulting you guys down there. And then somewhere else, I was reading in your newspapers online. I was reading in the South Carolina newspapers online when they asked Chief Reynolds, why he's qualified to work with the problems in Charleston. And I think there they highlighted the problems to be the issues of bad treatment of African Americans, right? So we are looking at issues like this, like the Starbucks issue, that kind of thing, Black Lives Matter, that kind of thing. So, and what this Reynolds guy says is, see, this is kind of how they kind of deceive and they lie and they answer, and it doesn't really show his qualification to do that job. What he says is, he's, in Montgomery County, there's a large minority population of Latinos who have a lot of mistrust of cops because they are afraid of being deported by ICE. But that's not the same problem as what African Americans have, right? This is a completely different problem. So he's trying to say it's the exact same problem. So he's worked with Latinos who are afraid to be deported by ICE. So that's the same thing as African Americans perhaps saying they don't get adequate police service, or African Americans saying they are mistreated by the cops. It doesn't look like the same issue. So his experience is entirely somewhere else. And, he really has no connection to any of the issues in Charleston. He's completely from a different area. And really, he's actually double dipping because he's retired just now from Montgomery County. So he's picking up a full pension with the new job. And we're still working on issues outside of my matter, but let me kind of point this out to you. This Reynolds guy and his chief, Tom Manger in Montgomery County, we kind of see how they can get away with all kinds of things. They can say one thing and do entirely something different. So we really have to look at the hypocrisy standard. Now, this Tom Manger, he every time any kind of incident occurs anywhere in the country, he kind of badmouths all the other law enforcement. So he's kind of that kind of a guy. He's kind of a self-aggrandizing kind of person, always making himself look so great and important. And so I kind of point this out to you. And one of the things I pointed out is, see, now after I pointed something out, these people changed something. See, what now they have a brochure saying. Now, if you go online, you can get a brochure which is like 2 pages long. It says reporting suspicious activities, and it goes to all the police districts of Montgomery County. Okay, and this one looks really complicated. It has so many things written out that, the see something, say something, when that's all you need. He has all this complicated stuff written out nobody can really follow. But really, why he's doing this is because before this, he had something else going. So this brochure, actually, in the past, he only had this Luther Reynolds and Tom Manger. They only had a brochure for the richest police district in Montgomery County, which is the Bethesda district, which is like 99% white. And essentially in the brochure, it basically says, it kind of goes, what is meant by suspicious? Suspicious can be any person, act, event, or situation that doesn't appear, appears questionable. So really what he's saying is suspicious can be just the person. So if somebody's black and he shows up in a white neighborhood in that Bethesda, Potomac rich neighborhood just north of Washington, D.C., if they show up there, they can be suspicious because they don't belong there. And so I'm just going for hypocrisy here. And anytime someone or something doesn't seem right, that is when you know, in all caps, should call the police. And we kind of say, okay, you all have the responsibility to call the police. Oh, you gotta love this one. This big PC progressive police chief. People often fail to call the police and report an incident simply because they are unaware of what seemingly innocent activities might be, and hesitate to call for fear of being labeled a nosy neighbor, of being accused of racial profiling. See? So this progressive PC police chief says, who's kind of exactly against all of this, in the brochure to this really rich neighborhood, Bethesda, he says, don't be afraid of being accused of being of racial profiling. And at the beginning, what they label as someone being suspicious is someone who doesn't fit in the neighborhood. So if you're black, just by being black and showing up in the neighborhood, you're suspicious. And then it says, don't be afraid of racial profiling, right? And then it says, call the police immediately. Do not worry about being embarrassed if your suspicions prove unfounded. So